Great. So yeah, thanks James for joining today. For those of you who don't know, James is the founder of GoSquared, which is an amazing tool that you can access on the toolbox, and we use ourselves for live chat and analytics on our website. It's beautiful UI, the product works really, really well, and the team are awesome. The team also have been fairly kitted out from working from home for a little while. So, and I know this because James has been chatting about it, and they've been sharing their awesome work from home setups during the health crisis. And I wanted to just rack your brains, James, for 20 minutes or so on a fairly quick call, just to find out what the real stuff is that people should be thinking. You know, we've all had an email from every company in the world telling us what we should be doing about coronavirus or what they're doing about it. Do I even care? I want to know, I want to kind of cut through and ask the real questions. And get some real nuggets, really. So hopefully that interview that intro did some justice. But tell us a little bit more about you and how you're currently reacting to coronavirus.
Yeah, sure. No, thanks for asking me on a call, Ash. I'm more than happy to chat about anything here. I think it's a really tough time for everyone, and the whole world just feels like it's changing every hour of every day. So it's, I think one of the things we've really felt at GoSquared is just we're really just trying to figure out as we go along how best to engage with people on this, how to be helpful, or when to shut up as well. Just a bit of background though, just on us. We're a software team. We've historically been based in London. We're still, we've been going a very long time, profitable business, and we're a team of around 10 people. And we've obviously been remote for over a week now, fully remote as a team. So a bunch of things I'd love to talk about, from how we've been engaging with our customers through to how we've been working as a remote team. Various other things I'm thinking right now. More than happy to chat about any of that stuff. But just really, want to share what we've learned so far. We don't have all the answers by any means, but I feel like we've so far transitioned to this environment fairly well. And really keen to share as much as we can, because there's a lot of people that are really struggling right now. A lot of businesses that are not in as good of a position to make the shift to this kind of environment, and hopefully those of us who have got a bit more experience doing it can share more about what they've learned.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your generosity. It's also important to say that there are lots of different ways that people are reacting to this. People are using it as a marketing tool, and obviously this is genuinely just about trying to help people understand what they should be doing, not just to raise awareness of GoSquared at all. Even though I will do it naturally because it's my job. So that kind of leads me to my first question, really. You guys obviously allow companies to post out notifications and messages to their users and their visitors, which means you might actually have been kind of the first platform that people go to update people on what's going on their side. What does the company at the center of that situation look like? What was the first thing you did, and have you done it yet?
So you touched on it there. Part of our platform does help our customers, small businesses, engage with their customers. So sending messages to people. I think from our perspective, our approach on this has been, I think as we've gone along, one of my realizations has been that depending on the type of business you are, like, I think a lot of people we see, they want some aspects of their life to continue as normal. They want some things to just continue as usual, and everything in the news, the media, social media, everything is, all of their friends, every conversation is about this right now. And I think it's important to bear in mind that some people they want some things to remain constant and to remain normal. And I think we've certainly found that with our customers. We've found that in our team as well. People come into work and they want that normality in some shape or form in their life to continue. And then there's the other side, which we've seen firsthand for sure, of businesses and customers of ours that have really, really, that having to make some of the toughest calls they've ever had to make, that are having to stop. And we've been very conscious of the huge range of emotions and desires of people at this time, and I think we've generally tried as much as possible to say less and step away from this whenever possible. We know people care a lot. People have got so much going on in their lives right now. We didn't want to be another company with a important message about COVID-19 polluting your inbox. So we've tried to say less, and we've tried to be conscious of those kind of that spectrum of opinions. And so we've been dealing with the customers in particular that we've been reaching out one by one to customers we really feel are having the toughest time, whether they're in hospitality and the events industries, and just reaching out to them one by one, and not just offering things like discounts, but just genuinely offering to get on the phone, get on the call, and see if we can be of any use in any way possible. So there's been that side of things.
Nice.
And then yeah, we've heard, well, generally we don't believe in sending sort of blanket messages to everyone in our customer base, or everyone in our user base. But we will have a few communications. We'll be doing like our weekly newsletter and our monthly newsletter that go out to segments of our audience, and we want to make sure those are approaching this in the right way. So trying to think generally, we're trying to prioritize business as usual, and then keep the COVID-19 related stuff separate from that, and try and engage with people case by case on that stuff. Yeah.
And then what about transition from working in the office to working at home? I guess like this is an education piece for people just as much as it is an awareness piece here. So what have you done practically? What have you done practically, from and culturally, and what can people learn from that to do themselves? I mean, obviously I'm assuming, you don't necessarily even know whether what you're doing is right. We have no idea what we're doing is right. But I'm sat here taking video calls on my bed, half the time, and it's in lieu of my currently terrible looking sofa and quite messy kitchen. It's like, which, I don't have a kitchen that's as neat and tiny as yours, but we all know that on the outside of that frame, everything might be chaos, and just as long as
you can't see, that's not even a kitchen, that's just a picture.
Just Zoom has this incredible way of just being able to put whatever you want in the background. So it's been ideal. But yeah, so based on your learnings and what's happened with the team, like what have you done, and what can other people do? What would your advice be?
Yeah, well, yeah, for a start, I won't proclaim to have the answers to everything here, but just sharing what we've done. At GoSquared, we've actually been on a bit of a journey on this, because we've been around a hell of a long time. When we started, my co-founders and I, we were at school, and we used to work on GoSquared in our bedrooms when we were meant to be doing homework, things like that. And we used to just message each other. I think at the time it was Google Chat or something. It was like built into Gmail. And we used to use that, and we used to just work like that. And it was only when we came along a bit and ended up having some space in London that we centralized in London, and the office happened. And since then, we'd always tried to build an environment in London, an office in London, an HQ in London. And for a while, that was the way we worked, until last year, where one of the team was moving up to Scotland, and we had a conversation, and it was approached like, can we still work together? But that member of the team, Russell, moving to Edinburgh, and we thought, well, let's see if we can make this work. And I think that was sort of halfway through last year, and by the end of last year, we felt really, really confident in how that had worked, having a member in just in a different place, to the point where we started opening up new roles and positions for remote team members. And now we have quite a few people on the team actually who work remotely full time, and also have increased the flexibility for people to work from home when they need to. And so we've, like, last year was quite a big shift for us in terms of moving from this everyone has to be in the office the same hours, maximize face time in the office wherever possible, to being much more flexible on that. And I think all of those lessons helped us really quite seamlessly transition to us, everyone having to work from home. So there are a few things that I think really have helped us, and I'm conscious that there's a lot of companies offering a lot of advice on how to work from home at the moment, but just some of the things we've found have really helped us. By default, a lot of our communication has always happened in Slack, and that's perhaps more from us being a very product focused company with developers and engineers who generally like to sort of be in that zone where they can focus on code, and everything can be written comms rather than a tap on the shoulder which can interrupt your flow. So defaulting to Slack for a lot of stuff there. But I think one of the biggest one of the most valuable tools or things we started doing was, this came in hand with scaling up the team as well a bit, was we adopted a tool called Notion for internal documentation. And I think some of us, myself in particular, have gotten pretty obsessive about how we can use Notion to document
Same.
internal processes. We've got a bunch of like playbooks we've got a whole area for keeping track of all the meetings. And so, keeping track of like the outcomes of meetings, who's involved with meetings, keeping track of, say, like our OKRs, so our objectives for the quarter, and generally sort of defaulting more of our communication to written asynchronous communication has really helped and established more structure, so that people don't need to be face to face, and if they're not in the office for one afternoon, they're gonna miss what's happened. We've tried to be very cognizant that we've got people outside the office, we've got people on different time zones. How can we make sure our communications as a company are more resilient to all of those differences? So we've really last year a lot of that stuff happened, so that this transition's been quite smooth. That's not to say everyone's jumped at the chance to work from home. I think different people have different attitudes on this. Some people have loved the routine of being a commute and coming to the office and meeting the team. So we've tried to reintroduce some of those little things that we have in the office. Like if someone's in Slack, we have a tea channel. So if someone's going to make a cup of tea, it always used to be this. If someone's going to make a cup of tea, you ping in there. And people can say, yeah, I'll get a cup of tea with you. But now we do that, and if you're making a cup of tea, you do that, but you jump on a Slack call and everyone has a little bit of a 5-minute
That's
chat.
nice. We were actually chatting about that today, so that's good to hear someone else.
So that's been nice. And yeah, I think that's something we're conscious of. Obviously, we're only like a week and a bit into this, and there's those little like interactions that, the water cooler kind of interactions that we really want to make sure we don't lose out on. But in terms of like key information, like how the team operates, I think there's a lot more we can go into if you want on anything around Notion and Slack usage that we've defined so far.
I think from the signs of things, if you're like boiling it down into something, it's kind of a key message that I'm hearing across all the companies that I respect, which is over communicate, because you can always cut that back over time. But if you under communicate now, then you're playing catch up later on. So if you're over communicating now, then obviously great. Okay, that will filter over time. So that's something that we've been doing ourselves, like 11 a.m. Team hangouts we do every single day at the moment, just to get that face-to-face time, catch up. And we probably talk a bit too much about things that don't really matter, but gives you that cultural check-in. I think otherwise you're just isolated. Some people like working from home, like I get more done here, but Abby, for example, likes being in an office. She's possibly more productive at home, she's finding now, surprisingly to herself, but we still need that personal check-in. And then the other thing, it sounds like double down and overcompensate, I guess, on culture too. You mentioned, the T chat and Slack. I think that's a brilliant idea, because we had the call. You'll hear it after it uploads today on my home internet, which is not as fast as the office, annoyingly. So it might be up by Thursday at this rate. But on Monday, on Monday meeting, we're talking about proactively during the call figuring out our own culture, and Slack is something that we use for comms now too. And yeah, we were talking about, okay, what happens if you go and make a cup of tea? Great, it's a very British thing for our international viewers, obviously, but that's great. But we just set ourselves as a way, and actually, if we don't set ourselves as a way, and we're actually still present, but everybody else is joining us there, that could be pretty nice too. So we'll definitely look at that. So I guess, I wanted to ask real three key questions, and the first one was, what was the first thing you did? Where did you start? How are you acting now, and what are you learning along the way? And I guess the next and final one really is, where do you think we'll be in, regardless of the virus? Let's not even theorize on how that's going to go, because nobody really does at the moment. But based on everything that's happened so far, do you think the way that the world works is changing, will change, without being biased, I guess? Do you think that in 6 months, 12 months, we'll look back and those meetings for the sake of meetings will be less that we'll be having at that point? What do you think is going to happen from here?
I know I would not want to bet on too many things that are outside my realm of expertise. But I think generally, my thoughts on things like this is that a lot of change happens only when it absolutely has to happen, when it's forced upon you in some way. And sometimes, that can be that can have bad consequences. But I think things like this, where there's this unarguable forcing function that's insisting everyone adopts totally different work practices, I think I can only begin to speculate on how that will change. I think for us already, I think it's going to dramatically impact our attitudes on. I think in the past it was a debate of whether or not someone could be remote, and it was kind of role by role we'd make that decision. I think for us, looking at how this all works now, I think we'll perhaps maybe more default to assuming that remote is how things will work. I think for other businesses, though, I can imagine that the changes are so dramatic that they will cause permanent changes in the way they operate, the way they adopt tooling, the way they view various technologies, like bringing your own device and working in a home environment, how that will impact security, privacy, how that will impact IT teams, how that will impact collaboration tools. I think already we're seeing so many collaboration tools getting better and better in the scope of a few days, and I think there's a lot of really exciting, positive things that are gonna come out of this. I think that's one of the sort of nice things that hopefully we'll look back on as once we look back at this time. And there's not a lot of great news right now, but I think when you have this sort of these external factors, these unarguable things, I think that's where like constraints lead to creativity often. And I think that's going to be really exciting to see. The people that are just, there's probably so many students and younger people out there as well who are not even in the working environment, and they might be growing up seeing this as being the working environment, and giving them tons. I would imagine there's a lot of people perhaps growing up in this time thinking, wow, why the hell did we work like that in the past, and looking at this now being the default. And I think we've got a hell of a long way to go still to make ourselves more and more productive, more and more positive and happy, and able to be really our most creative in an environment like this. I think there's so much opportunity on the business side, on the tooling side, on software to help here. So I think it's a really exciting time, despite all of the challenging stuff going
Of
on right
course.
now.
Yeah, all of that stuff is a standard. Anybody that's talking about the opportunity in this scenario, I'm sure is probably not trying to undermine the seriousness of the pandemic. It's just
Yeah,
innovation through necessity, right? It breeds interesting solutions that the world hasn't seen before, because the world has never been in that situation before at that time. And so,
yeah,
with the access to that technology to be able to make that happen. So, yeah, I agree with you. Everything that's dark about right now aside, and there's a lot of it, but everything of that
yeah.
side, this is, if you want to put the optimist and silver lining hat on,
I
it's
try to.
arguably one of the greater times for innovation uh,
Yeah,
right
I
now,
think.
because you have to.
Yeah, I think also I know we talked a lot about productivity tooling and things.
Mm,
I think it's also very important to think about personal routine, personal well-being, and everything. And I know this
yeah.
is also just something we've been increasingly conscious of at GoSquared. My views on this have changed dramatically as I've grown up through my 20s. And I just think I think there's an aspect at the moment of just having total understanding that members of the team are all going through different things right now.
Yeah.
And I think that's been something I've been really conscious to appreciate. Some people want to get out there and run down to their local high street virtually, or in whatever way they can, to help, whether it's local people, their neighbors, local businesses, do whatever they can. And there's other people who just want to shut this off and focus on like trying to get some sense of normality. And I think for me, one of the things I've just been trying to do is to try and keep some level of routine in my life. And I started actually before this kicked off, but having like a morning routine of like 4 or 5 things, not to take this too far into the wellness category of podcasts or
No,
chat,
it's
but
fine.
on my to-do list, I have a bunch of stuff going on the work front. But every morning I try and just do a couple of things. One is drink some water, drink like a pint of water, and I can always do that regardless. So I always feel like I've checked one thing off on my to-do list. And then get through something fitness related. So try and do like 20 press ups. Can usually do that. Have a shower and write up my notes and like a daily diary entry for the day before. And I just feel like having that kind of routine to start my day just helps me and get dressed. There's all this also
Get
basic stuff
dressed,
of
yeah.
like, just make sure you know get fit and ready for the day like you would have done before, and try and keep
Yeah.
that routine in as much as possible. And also just make sure you can try and draw that divide between work and home, because I think I've noticed this on the team, and we're trying to figure out the best way to kind of ensure people approach it in the right way, because I think there's an aspect that's beneficial. People can be more flexible and work at a slightly more appropriate time to whatever suits them, but also
Yeah.
make sure people don't end up working endless hours just
Yeah.
because their environment now doesn't also relate to their mindset and their working situation. So yeah, just trying to make sure, and I I've been trying to do this, and I know other people on the team have been trying to make sure we're really vigilant. And if someone's been on since like 8 a.m. and it's sort of 6:30 in the evening, it's like, why are you still here?
Yeah.
Go make yourself some dinner, go watch some TV, or go play a computer game, or go paint a picture or something.
Yeah.
Just get off of Slack and go. And just, I think everyone kind of collaborating on that. And I think that's comes down to making sure you got really great people on the team, having a good supportive culture, and knowing that working hours don't equal productivity. It's making sure people are doing their best work and given the room to do that.
Yeah, I think everything you just said around being hesitant about talking about the well-being thing is completely right to say, because well-being is a core part of work. You know, you got to make sure you're looking after your mental health as well as your physical health, as well as your productivity, because they're all linked intrinsically to one another. And so,
Yeah,
you know, in lieu of the physical walk to work, what's the mental walk to work we're doing if
yeah,
we don't have a
yeah,
physical one? So all of those tips are super helpful, from, you know, from the making your notes for what you're going to do that day, all the way through to checking in on other people. But you're right, also it's about accountability for not overworking, which is, I think, the thing that people won't really be considering and won't come out on most people's like newsletters. Like, oh, we're letting people work whenever they want to work. Great. Are you telling them when they shouldn't be working too? That's really important. But at the same time, there's also this piece around self-awareness of like when you should and could be working and when you are most productive. And it's like
mm,
you said, hiring the right people allows them to make that decision for themselves. Because as you'll hear on our Monday meeting, you know, we explored this ourselves. Abby found herself working as a way to fill time, which has got more done, but it shouldn't be the default. And for
yeah,
me, because I've
yeah.
been doing it for slightly longer and have worked at home more often, I think it's second nature now, where actually if I put my over ear headphones on, my body knows it's in work mode, even if I'm on the same sofa as I was before. And so there's like little more subtle nuances instead. And so but for me it's like 2 hours on, half an hour, 45 minutes off, 2 hours on, and the same
Sure,
again, and repeating.
sure.
Do the same amount of hours in a day, but just far more productive than if I sat there from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m.
Yeah,
solidly at my living room table. It just
yeah,
won't
yeah.
work. So yeah, it's whatever's right for you. But really appreciate the tips, the top tips, and the advice and the help that I'm sure will help at least a few people in the
I
community,
hope
which
so.
is the important thing, to adapt and survive this, you know, in all terms of the phrase. So thank you so much, James, for spending your time this afternoon
Sure,
sharing that, and I'll let you get back to obviously adapting yourselves
sure. No,
and staying up to date.
thanks for having me, Ash. And yeah, no, honestly, if anyone, you know, I think another thing is just a lot of people are feeling a bit lonely at the moment. So if anyone does want to chat at all, like on anything, whether it's related to anything on this or other, you can always reach me. My email's james@GoSquared.com. So
Perfect.
please do reach out if you want. And yeah, just best of luck to everyone, and we will get through this.
We will indeed. Thanks so much, James. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Ash. Thanks. Keep
Cheers.
up.
Thank you.